Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, let me tell you about the latest special from Mike Lindell at MyPillow. The standard MyPillow, normally $49.98 for a limited time only, just $14.88 with promo code Joey. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener specials, and see all the specials. There's a limited quantity of just 10 at this special price. That's $14.88 with promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. It's another busy day. In response to President Trump's threats of sanctions, Mexico has agreed to deploy 10,000 troops to the U.S. border in exchange for a 30-day pause on the threatened tariffs. In the final hours of the deadline, our northern neighbors also reached a tentative agreement, which involves the implementation of a $1.3 billion border plan from Canada and to appoint a fentanyl czar. See what you can get when you ask or give a little gentle nudge. An FBI agents group tells Congress to take urgent action to protect against politicization of the federal law enforcement agency that they believe the Trump administration is about to do. And New York's Attorney General Letitia James has advised hospitals to just ignore President Trump's executive order about sex change procedures for minors. This is the beginning of what's probably going to prove to be a major courtroom showdown. Failed Georgia gubernatorial candidate Stacey Abram's voter activist group has been hit with a mass layoff after a record-breaking ethics fine. We have all the details on that.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
President Donald Trump has agreed to delay imposing additional tariffs on Canada. The threats had been set to take place or start today. This following a phone call with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. In response to Trump's concerns, Trudeau announced new security measures, including a $1.3 billion border plan, the appointment of a fentanyl czar, and increased border security efforts. Now, think about this for a minute. For 4 years, both our southern border and our northern border have allowed people to come across and flood into our country. Joe Biden pretended that nothing could be done about it. Yet Donald Trump has been in office less than a month. And he's already secured some major deals. The Prime Minister in Canada outlined specific actions that they'll take, including deploying additional helicopters. They'll have more personnel involved, advanced technology along the border, as well as strengthening coordination with U.S. authorities at the border. Nearly 10,000 personnel are set to work on border protection. Additionally, Canada will formally designate cartels as terrorist organizations and create a joint task force with the U.S. to combat fentanyl trafficking, organized crime, and money laundering, backed by a $200 million investment. They're serious about this. Trump has long criticized Canada and Mexico, of course, for failing to curb illegal immigration, for failing to help us stop the drug trafficking, particularly fentanyl. He's also claimed that the U.S. subsidizes Canada by approximately $200 billion annually. His initial plan was to impose a 25% tariff on Canadian and Mexican imports, along with a 10% tariff on Chinese goods, with the Canadian-Chinese tariff set to take effect at midnight tonight. Following the call, Trudeau confirmed that the proposed tariffs will be put on hold for at least 30 days while both nations work toward a solution. It's off to a good start. Imagine what they can do. We're going to see some big changes, I believe, at both borders now. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum also announced yesterday that Mexico will deploy 10,000 troops as well to the U.S.-Mexico border in exchange for a 1-month delay on Trump's proposed tariffs against Mexico. The agreement was reached after a phone call between the two leaders just 12 hours before the tariffs were set to take effect. Trump confirmed the deal on Truth Social, describing the conversation as a very friendly and stating that the troops would be tasked with stopping the flow of fentanyl and illegal migrants into the U.S. Additionally, both leaders agreed that the U.S. would step up efforts to block the flow of firearms into Mexico. As part of the agreement, high-level negotiations between the two countries will start and put a permanent solution together. These talks will include Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, and Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. President Trump indicated that he plans to personally participate in the discussions with President Sheinbaum to finalize a broader trade and security deal. Now, again, these announcements of a sudden change of heart with the Canadians and the Mexicans after Trump threatened tariffs. I mean, within days. Think about that. When did he first announce the tariffs? Was it Friday? Thursday or Friday? And in less than a week, you've got Canada putting together a $1.2 billion border plan, 10,000 troops, and you got Mexico, the same thing. But yet Joe Biden sat on his lazy rear end and claimed, oh, nothing can be done about it. Just can't do anything about it. Wow. Also, Trump hinted at potentially cutting aid to South Africa over its recent controversial land seizure policies. Look, this is just a sign that the Trump administrations, they're going to take aggressive stances on international economic and other policy matters when it comes to protecting America. President Trump has emphasized that his administration's priority is to protect Americans and fulfill his campaign promises. Now, you would think that this guy is running for another term with the way he is aggressively going after these things, but he's not. That's not an option for him. He just wants to do what's right for the country. Wow. This is just amazing to me that this can be accomplished so quickly in just a few days. I mean, think back. If Joe Biden had have taken the same stance 4 years ago, how many millions of people would not be in our country right now who shouldn't be here? Laken Riley would probably still be alive, along with hundreds and thousands of other victims of crime that have been brought on by these hoodlums. But no, and I know it's water under the bridge, as we say, but Joe Biden sat back and let this happen. He wouldn't even try to take action. All he could do was complain and whine and say, well, we can't do it. There's nothing we can do about it. Well, yes, there is. And Donald Trump just proved you wrong. Speaking of Joe Biden, did you hear that he has a new talent agency? Somebody explained this one to me. The headline yesterday was that former President Joe Biden has landed himself representation with a big Hollywood agency just 2 weeks after leaving office. So here's the story. Biden has signed with Creative Artists Agencies, known as CAA, which previously represented him between 2017 and 2020 when he was out of office for those 4 years. The CAA co-chair Richard Lovett announced in a statement, President Biden is one of America's most respected and influential voices in national and global affairs. His lifelong commitment to public service is one of unity, optimism, dignity, and possibility. We are profoundly honored to partner with him again. Now, who in the world is going to want to do anything with Joe Biden? Why would you want Joe Biden falling asleep on your stage? I mean, he can't give a speech. He can't even read the teleprompter. So what's he going to do? According to the news release, under his previous stint with CAA, Biden released his memoir, Promise Me, Dad, in 2017, as well as his post-vice presidency American Promise speaking tour, which sold more than 85,000 tickets nationwide. Would you pay to go hear Joe Biden speak? Love to hear from some of my Democrat friends who think Joe Biden really wasn't that bad. Would you pay to go hear him now? I mean, he was a different person in 2017. He could actually put together a whole sentence then. The guy can't even speak now. This is a firm who represents Democrats. They also represent former President Barack Obama. They represent former First Lady Michelle Obama. So, I guess they're shouldn't be any surprise here that they'd want to sign a deal with Joe Biden. Again, I don't know what they're going to get out of him. In order for them to make money, they've got to be able to book him for appearances. And I can't imagine any group who's going to want to spend their hard-earned money to own Joe Biden and not get anything out of it. But Biden's been out of office for just over 2 weeks now. Several Hollywood celebrities, of course, were influential in pushing Biden out. And this group is very connected in Hollywood. They're known as movers and shakers in Hollywood. So it's kind of an odd situation that they would even want to represent Joe Biden. I mean, you had a long list of Hollywood elites who asked Joe Biden to step down, to get out of the race so that Kamala Harris could step up, like Ashley Judd, John Cusack, Rob Reiner, Stephen King, Mia Farrow, Michael Douglas. The list is long. Maybe they'll pay for his speaker fees. Maybe Joe's not beached after all. We'll see. There's a lot of talk about making America great again, and it begins with making America healthy again. Dr. Ashley Lucas and her team at PhD Weight Loss are at the forefront to educate and guide you to be your best self. The millions being spent in propping up Big Pharma are astounding, only to create long-term dependency and harmful side effects. Let's take a natural approach that isn't connected to a pharmaceutical company's bottom line. The coaches at PhD Weight Loss will show you how. The entire program is centered around science and nutrition, a proven roadmap that has helped over 8,000 clients lose over 331,000 pounds. You'll learn what to eat and when, how to quiet cravings, and finally get rid of that belly fat. Plus, you'll never take a medication. How many pounds would you like to lose in 2025? Do it the natural way with PhD Weight Loss, here to lead the charge to make America healthy again. Call PhD Weight Loss and schedule your consultation. 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900, or go to myphdweightloss.com. The Federal Bureau of Investigation Agents Association, their union basically, has issued a dire warning about actions taken by the Department of Justice and FBI leadership under Trump 2.0. The organization, which say they represent over 14,000 current and former FBI special agents, sent a letter to congressional leaders yesterday raising their concerns that recent orders could put careers at risk and disrupt critical law enforcement work. Here's what they're upset about. At the center of this controversy is an order from Acting Deputy Attorney General Emil Bovee to remove the entire FBI senior leadership team, including the assistant director in charge of the Washington field office. Additionally, FBI employees have been directed to compile a list of all personnel, past and present, who worked on investigations related to the January 6, 2021 and a Hamas-linked case. Now, this FBI union fears that these lists may be used to take punitive action against agents, although the Trump administration has not explicitly confirmed any of those types of measures. Special agents who risk their lives protecting this country are now being placed on lists and having their careers jeopardized, the group states, emphasizing that the lack of transparency and due process could undermine national security operations. Yeah, they always scream national security when something like this comes up. Have you noticed that all the groups who are protesting some of these moves that the Trump administration are making, that they're all these unions? I mean, this is all this is. The Federal Bureau of Investigation Agents Association is a union. And, of course, they're not going to like Donald Trump questioning what their agents have done, what they're doing, what they want to do. They don't think anybody should be able to ask questions. They're a union. The union fears that these lists, again, could be used for punitive action. President Trump, when asked about the issue, declined to give specifics, but reiterated his stance that the FBI has been corrupt and needs reform, and he's going to help them do it. He expressed confidence that his nominee for FBI director, Kash Patel, will straighten it out, he said. And I can guarantee you Kash Patel will straighten it out. Some former DOJ officials warned that these moves could create a chilling effect on federal law enforcement, while others urged calm, saying that the investigations into the January 6 riots followed established legal guidelines, and if they didn't do anything wrong, there's nothing they have to fear, which is a true statement. The future of the FBI's leadership remains uncertain as Congress and the administration continue in a bit of a power struggle over federal law enforcement. Look, we all know that something has to be done. Now, it may not be as extreme as as what has been suggested at first glance, but something has to be done if the American people are going to once again trust what should be our top law enforcement agency, because we know that the FBI has been politicized. You know, isn't that the irony here? The Democrats are running around talking about, well, we can't politicize law enforcement, when that's exactly what they did. Do they not hear themselves when they say that? Do they not think about what they have put Donald Trump through these past years? If that's not politicizing the Department of Justice and the FBI, what is? They're such hypocrites. I mean, just hypocrites. Speaking of ignoring the law, New York Attorney General Letitia James issued a warning to hospitals yesterday, cautioning them against complying with President Donald Trump's recent executive order that prohibits sex change procedures for minors. Ms. James argued that following the directive would violate New York State anti-discrimination law. So basically, she's put these hospitals in the position of, you got to decide which law you're going to break or ignore. Are you going to ignore the federal mandate that Donald Trump has issued in this executive order? Or are you going to ignore me, the state's law? Look, let me offer them some advice here. I think I would not cross the Trump administration. Tell Letitia James to mind her own business. Trump's executive order is titled Protecting Children from Chemical and Surgical Mutilation, aims to restrict chemical and surgical sex change procedures for minors, saying that these interventions are irreversible and harmful to these kids. Basically, let them grow up, let them become adults before they make these types of life-changing decisions. I've never understood how a parent could allow, let's just say, a teenager. I mean, there have been cases of young kids, but let's say a teenager who has a little bit of sense, that these parents would allow their kids to go through these very extreme changes to their body that they cannot undo. Trump's order prohibits federal funding or support for child gender transitions, period. End of sentence. Ms. James responded by reminding healthcare providers of their obligations under the New York law, emphasizing that gender-affirming care remains protected in the state of New York. The Greater New York Hospital Association acknowledged that it is reviewing the executive order's legal and clinical implications. Dr. Mark Siegel, a Fox News medical analyst, had a few things to say, noting that the risk associated with puberty blockers and sex reassignment surgeries for minors. He warned that such treatments could have long-term effects on fertility, bone growth, cognition, and overall development. Dr. Siegel emphasized the importance of mental health counseling for children experiencing gender confusion and questioned whether political or social pressure influence or should have any influence on these types of medical decisions to begin with. But this dispute kind of outlines this growing national divide over transgender medical care for minors, because most people think it's crazy. Trump's administration is moving to restrict them. Democrat leaders in the state, in some states like New York, are vowing to resist and protect access to gender-affirming treatments. This legal battle over the executive order is expected to escalate in the coming weeks, may end up in front of the U.S. Supreme Court. We'll see. But again, I can't imagine a parent who would allow their child to go through that before they become an adult. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Let me give you a quick update on where we stand with some of the final confirmation hearings on President Trump's nominees for his cabinet. We got a bit of good news yesterday, I guess you could say. Moderate Republican Senator Susan Collins of Maine has announced that she will, in fact, support Tulsi Gabbard's nomination to serve as the Director of National Intelligence. Ms. Collins is a key member of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. She said that she made her decision yesterday and made it public yesterday, stating that after extensive consideration that she believes Ms. Gabbard is the right candidate for the position. Now, Collins was one of the principal authors of the Intelligence Reform and Terrorism Prevention Act back in 2004 that actually established the job that Ms. Gabbard has applied for. And she emphasized her concerns over the office's expansion beyond its original purpose. Ms. Collins noted that Ms. Gabbard shares her vision of streamlining the agency and returning it to its intended scope. Senator Collins said, as one of the principal authors of the Intelligence Reform and Terrorism Prevention Act of 2004 that established this coordinating position, I understand the critical role the DNI plays in the intelligence community. The Office of the Director of National Intelligence, however, has become far larger than it was designed to be, and Ms. Gabbard shares my vision of returning the agency to its intended size. In addition, Senator Collins highlighted that Gabbard satisfactorily addressed her concerns regarding her views on Edward Snowden during multiple discussions, including a closed hearing before the Senate Intelligence Committee. With her concerns alleviated, Ms. Collins stated that her intent to vote in favor of advancing Gabbard's nomination should move forward. Senator Collins' support is significant, given that her reputation for occasionally breaking from the Republican Party, she's kind of a loose cannon. You never know if you can count on her vote or not. Her vote, of course, is crucial as the Senate Intelligence Committee prepares for this vote probably today. She joins other key Republican committee members, including Senators John Cornyn of Texas, James Langford of Oklahoma, who have already said that they will be voting to move Gabbard's nomination forward. However, the committee's divided. One notable Republican holdout is still Senator Todd Young of Indiana, who has not declared his position, unless he did it late last night and it slipped by me. His hesitation has drawn some criticism from within his party, particularly from Elon Musk, who previously criticized Young on social media, calling him a deep state puppet. Now, Mr. Musk later retracted his comments after a direct conversation with Senator Young, stating that he now believes Young to be a strong advocate for limiting bureaucratic overreach. Now, wonder what they could have possibly discussed that would have changed Elon Musk's mind on this. What did that conversation sound like? Now, despite Senator Collins' support, Tulsi Gabbard's nomination still could be an uphill battle when you get it out into the full Senate. If she makes it through the Intelligence Committee, which I think she probably will, she will require a near unanimous Republican support, given the likelihood that she'll get zero Democrat backing at all. Now, doesn't that just kind of tell you something of where we are, where the Democrat Party is? You would think that out of the, how many are there, 48 or 49 Democrat senators? I forget, but almost a majority. I mean, we have a slim margin. You would think, though, that out of 40-plus Democrat senators, one of them would say, I can support Tulsi Gabbard based on her past history, based on her qualifications for the job. You would think one of them would, or two of them, or three or four, a small handful. But not a single one will probably vote for her. She can, she can afford to lose only 3 Republican votes in a full Senate vote. Senator Collins' stance on the nomination probably shores her up among the Republican Party, though. You got to remember that Ms. Collins voted against Pete Hegseth's confirmation as defense secretary, showing that she's willing to break party expectations if she believes that the nominee is not qualified. Now, with her endorsement of Gabbard today, that may pull some other Republican senators' votes over to Ms. Gabbard, if some were kind of holding back. Now, Elon Musk's involvement in this process has drawn quite a bit of attention, too, especially given his recent social media activity regarding Senator Young. Musk's influence in political discussions has grown tremendously in the last few years, particularly this past year, as he was often seen traveling and by the side of Donald Trump. Musk's latest reversal of opinion after a conversation with Senator Young kind of tells you that his role is that his voice is playing a role in shaping the GOP. And it also kind of tells you that he can be open-minded, or at least wants to have a discussion. Again, I'd love to have been a fly on the wall and heard that discussion. I mean, that's a pretty big difference when you go from just blasting the guy, calling him part of the deep state, a deep state puppet, to now stating that he believes Young is a strong advocate for limiting bureaucratic overreach. You know, at some point, I'm sure Musk is thinking, well, we got to have these votes. The Senate Intelligence Committee vote today will determine whether Gabbard's nomination, again, proceeds to a full Senate. And we'll see where it goes there. I would be very surprised if Gabbard is not ultimately confirmed. We'll see. We'll see. In other confirmation hearing news, Pam Bondi, President Trump's nominee for U.S. Attorney General, has cleared a pretty major hurdle in the Senate and now will move to a final floor vote for confirmation. The Senate voted 52-46 yesterday to invoke cloture, limiting further debate and effectively defeating the legislative filibuster against her nomination. Bondi, of course, a former Florida Attorney General, a longtime prosecutor. She has been praised for her composure, her ability to handle tough questions during her nearly 6-hour confirmation hearing. She emphasized her commitment to enforcing federal law without political bias, stating that the Department of Justice has been weaponized for years and vowing to restore impartiality. And that's what we need. We don't need the Department of Justice bowing to political pressure for either side. It needs to be an independent institution like it was for years. Ms. Bondi's nomination has received strong support from Republicans, and she has gotten some Democrats. So, you know, back to my discussion a minute ago on Gabbard, Ms. Bondi will receive some Democrat votes, as well as endorsements from over 110 former senior Justice Department officials, including former U.S. attorneys, General John Ashcroft, Jeff Sessions, Bill Barr, Edwin Meese. They praised her prosecutorial experience and her dedication to public service. Also, dozens of former state attorney generals, both Republican and Democrat, sent a letter urging her confirmation, citing her extensive background in law enforcement and her commitment to upholding the rule of law. That's a pretty strong statement, to have people from both parties saying, hey, she's capable. She's capable of being independent and doing the job. And again, with the cloture vote passed, Ms. Bondi's nomination now heads to the full Senate for the final confirmation vote, which she is expected to secure enough votes to win. Also, one other final note. The Senate Agriculture, Nutrition, and Forestry Committee voted unanimously yesterday to advance President Donald Trump's nominee, Brooke Rollins, for Secretary of Agriculture. There's no opposition in the committee, so Rollins is now set for a full Senate confirmation vote sometime later this week, probably. Rollins is a former White House aide, CEO of America First Policy Institute. She has been widely regarded as an uncontroversial pick for the position. Her nominations received strong backing from over 415 farmers, agricultural groups, industry leaders who have praised her policy expertise and deep understanding of agricultural issues. Her confirmation hearing, of course, at a critical time as Congress has struggled to pass a new farm bill to provide adequate subsidies and to aid farmers. Rollins has pledged to act swiftly upon confirmation, promising to distribute stalled federal assistance, combat agricultural disease outbreaks like the bird flu, and modernize USDA operations. Supporters say that her close working relationship with President Trump is a big bonus, emphasizing that her leadership will ensure that farmers in America has a strong voice in policy decisions that are made at the White House, at the presidential level. And again, there appears to be no opposition, so Rollins is expected to secure Senate confirmation without any problem at all, without any hurdles. And we're getting there. The president's cabinet is getting close to being completed. We'll see. We'll see. Some of the ones that were being predicted that would not make it. Primarily, I would have probably bet if I had been betting on who may not have made it through the confirmation process, it probably would have been Pete Hegseth, and he made it. So I think President Trump probably is in pretty good shape of getting everyone he wanted in his cabinet. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. Have you been following this whole situation with the USA IDs, the possible dissolution? Secretary of State Marco Rubio has taken full control as acting director of the United States Agency for International Development, and he has accused the agency of rank insubordination. Speaking in an exclusive interview with Fox News in El Salvador, Secretary of State Rubio criticized USAID for being completely unresponsive and claimed that the agency views itself as a global entity rather than a U.S. government institution. And that's what happens with these agencies. You give them these billions of dollars to spend, you give them pretty much autonomy, and they do start thinking like that. They think they're invincible. And we've never had a situation to where a new administration came in and actually said, everybody's head is on the block. We're going to review every single federal agency. I don't care how long you've been around. We're going to review your agency. We're going to review your mission. We're going to review whether or not you are doing things to complete that mission. And if there's anything within your agency that does not align with the mandate that the American people gave us, you're out. You're fired. This has been a big one. Secretary of State Rubio refrained from endorsing calls for the complete dissolution of USAID that DOJ chief Elon Musk has suggested. Elon Musk says, close the doors, close it down. He stated there are things that we do through USAID, this is Marco Rubio, that we should continue to do that makes sense, and we'll have to decide, is that better through the State Department or is that better through something like a reformed USAID? Now, Elon Musk thinks that you should just eliminate the agency altogether and let whatever aid that is legitimate, just let it fall under the Department of State. Despite these restructuring ideas, Rubio assured that the U.S. remains committed to humanitarian aid, providing that it aligns with national interest. Now, speaking with Sean Hannity last night, Louisiana Senator John Kennedy warned other agencies that this will be coming to them soon.
Who are upset, I would say with respect, call somebody who cares. They better get used to this. It's USAID today. It's going to be Department of Education tomorrow. And really, here's what's going on. For 4 years under President Biden, the people in charge ask one simple question. Who needs to pay more in taxes? Who needs to pay more in taxes? Well, that's not the question that the Republicans and President Trump are going to ask. Our question is, what the hell happened to the money? And that's all that's going on.
$520 million for consultant-driven ESG investments in Africa, $45 million to DEI scholarships in Burma. Why are your Democratic colleagues seemingly more freaked out about cutting U.S. aid? This is our money. Do you know how much $1 million is? 520? I mean, we're spending hundreds of millions of dollars over the years on this madness. What are they thinking? We have $40 trillion in debt.
If you notice, my Democratic colleagues and the USAID officials, they're not defending the spending. All they're talking about is process. Oh, it's an insurrection, and Elon Musk doesn't have the authority. Well, sure he has the authority. The president gave it to him. And all he's doing is looking at the spending, just what the president said he was going to appoint Musk to do. Here's what I hope Rubio and Musk do. I would put together all this absurd spending into a booklet. I'd call a press conference, and in front of God and country and the corporate media and the USAID folks and my Democratic colleagues, I'd go over it, item by item by item, every bit of it. The DEI comic books, the transgender operas, the funding of gain-of-function research. I'd go over every bit of it and say, now, do you want to defend this? And they won't. They can't.
Of course they defend it. Addressing the concerns that the USAID cuts would allow China to expand its global influence, which is, again, that's what the Democrats do when something like this comes up. They start talking about international, about our security, that it could lead our country to being attacked, terrorist attacks. Well, what about the terrorist attacks that we could potentially have because of people who are in our country right now who came through our southern or northern border? You haven't been concerned about that. Rubio dismissed the concerns about China expanding its global influence, saying that China is not effectively competing with U.S. aid efforts. He said, even if they did that, why would we fund some things that are against our national interest? If China wants to waste their money, go ahead. We're not going to do it. The American Foreign Service Association, which represents U.S. foreign service workers. Now, see, here it goes again. Remember earlier I was talking about this, the union for the FBI workers? Now you have the union for the foreign service workers. They released a statement strongly opposing the administration's restructuring plan. Well, of course they oppose it, because they don't want to lose their jobs. The organization argued that dismantling USAID would undermine national security, there it goes, subvert congressional authority, and show disregard for dedicated development professionals. All right, if you're no longer useful, if the agency you work for no longer is needed, I don't care how professional you are, you need to brush off your resume and go find another job. It's not my duty for my tax dollars to be paid for in order for you to keep your job if the agency, if the mission of what you're doing is no longer relative. That's not an argument. Secretary of State Rubio's remarks on this came, of course, during his visit to Latin America. He went to Panama, where he discussed strategic concerns regarding the Panama Canal. And things are looking pretty good there, too. Following his meeting with the Panamanian president, Jose Raul Molino, Panama announced its withdrawal from China's Belt and Road Initiative. Rubio welcomed the decision. He urged Panama to take additional steps to counter China's influence. So here we are, not too long ago, when President Trump warned that we may just take the Panama Canal back because of the close relationship that Panama has with China. Now suddenly Panama is going to rethink that relationship. Of course they're going to rethink it. It's just amazing to me, and I know I keep repeating myself, but isn't it just amazing how showing your strength, showing you're not going to let somebody just walk over you, and we're going to do what's best for our country, for our own best interest, how suddenly these people will get on board with us? It's just absolutely amazing. By the way, one other quick thing. Well, let's see. Let's get caught up on text messages. Ace writes, Joey, good morning. Hope you're doing well. China claims that they're having nothing to do with the fentanyl in the U.S., but currently the DEA says that China remains the primary source of fentanyl and fentanyl-related substances. I think China needs a major reality check. Trump is in office now. Playtime is over. You're right, Ace. They're going to get that reality check. Tony writes, Joey, I don't like the fact of Canada becoming the 51st state. We don't need more fruitcake progressives to worry about. It could change our politics forever in a bad way. I don't know that Canada, Donald Trump, that's just part of his negotiating skill, threatening for Canada to be the 51st state. I don't think that's ever going to happen. But I hear you, Tony. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.